You want me to just start here then, whenever you
Yeah.
want? Okay, cool. Let me know if you need to record or anything like that, and whenever I can get started.
Yeah, I have it recording.
Okay, great. Well, hi everyone. My name is Benji Popok. I'm a third year, about to be a fourth year medical student at UT Southwestern Medical School in Dallas, Texas. I had the privilege of coming on last month and talking generally about medical school, being a medical student, all the steps in between where y'all are in high school to college to medical school and beyond. Today, I'm going to be talking about a big group that I'm part of. This is actually how Maya and some of the rest of the Teen Health Journal's teams got in touch with me. This is called the Society of Student-Run Free Clinics. Maya, I'm going to start this as a slideshow and let me know if that changes anything with sharing. Can you guys see still my
Okay.
screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. Well, like I said, as a medical student, I've been a part of this Society of Student-Run Free Clinics for some time now. I'll tell you a little bit generally about what we do and then introduce some of our different officers. And at the very end, talk a little bit about how you can get involved, as this is one great way for someone, even at the high school level, to participate in medical care. Society of Student-Run Free Clinics really began as an offshoot of discussions that started in family medicine conferences over a decade ago. Over a decade ago at family medicine conferences, the doctors and residents and students were all talking and thinking, how can we get medical students training on day one? How can we get them seeing patients on day one? And they really came up with this idea of the student-run free clinic. And the idea here is that you have medical students from first through fourth year running all the operations of the clinic, from front desk to the patient room, with one faculty physician, that's someone who's finished all their training, overseeing it. So this is our officer board from the last conference we had. We have a conference every year where we bring together different medical students, residents, physicians who present on their work. This is all our whole officer team at the national level. We're from everywhere from Hawaii to Dallas to Chicago and in between. So I'm going to go through and briefly introduce each of the members. If any of them happen to hop on and I don't see that you're in the call, let me know. But otherwise, I'll go ahead and introduce four of them. So Caroline Madigan's our national president. She's up in Chicago. And you can see with each of these that I'll quickly go through, they have a free clinic associated with it. So that means for Caroline, when she's volunteering in Chicago, she works with the clinic called ICC. She's been working with us 2 years now, a ton of new initiatives, peer mentorship programs for both medical students, undergrads, and anyone else that wants to get involved, as well as mentoring for how to build new clinics. Owen's coming in next year as our national president-elect. You can see he's at the George Washington School of Medicine, and you can see his clinic here. He's been working on getting operating guidelines, really standardizing it so we can say specifically what is and isn't one of these student-run free clinics. Mohammed and Michelle are our conference coordinator and elect respectively. So Michelle's our representative all the way from Hawaii. So sometimes it's hard to schedule meetings with all of our different time zones. But they are in charge of organizing all of the conference. A conference is when, for a particular specialty or a field, many individuals get together to share new ideas, research, projects, etc. And you can imagine there's a conference for almost anything under the sun. There's big surgery conferences, cardiac conferences, but then it even gets really specific to individual disease like a fibromyalgia conference or a migraine conference or even a subtype of migraine conference. So if there's anything you guys are interested in, I actually encourage you even today, you can start looking up these conferences. And a lot of times there is a registration fee and you may have to travel. But if there's one that comes to an area near you, and oftentimes they have a student discount, I think this is a great way to start getting involved in medicine, in research. So truly just fill in the blank, whatever you like or whatever you think you might be interested in, conference, and I bet you'll find something that's coming up. Leslie and Delaney take care of our finances. Leslie is also a student with me at Southwestern. Delaney is up in Chicago. Kim and Will both do our research. So something I encourage you guys to look up whenever you get a chance is the Journal of Student-Run Clinics. And I'll be talking about it later, but the Journal of Student-Run Clinics. We allow medical students and anyone to publish that's been involved in these clinics. And once again, I'll get to it later on, but if you're able to get involved with one clinic in your area and come up with some projects, find ways that you can get involved, the journal would be a great place to consider publishing. And that's a huge step ahead. I had nothing near that in high school, So if you have that just going into college, you're already way ahead of the game. So Kim's been really fundamental in shaping that. Will came on with us this year. He's from Nebraska, and he's been great about advertising our research projects and reaching out to patients. Finally, myself, I serve as our communications coordinator. So if you guys would like, I'll drop our link in the chat, but we have an Instagram ourselves. It's just Society of Student Run Free Clinics. Maya, maybe if you have a chance, you can post in the comments if you find our at. But it's just all one word, Society of Student Run Free Clinics. And we're posting opportunities, shout outs all the time to different organizations, different clinics. So give us a follow, keep up with us, see what's going on. And finally, me and Ashna both run our website. So if you just look up Society of Student Run Free Clinics, our website will pop up pretty quickly, and you can see a ton of details from webinars outlining steps of building a free clinic to shout outs of other free clinics, links to the conference and previous year's conference, links to the journal, ton of stuff. Getting a little bit more specific about exactly how a student run free clinic operates. Like I mentioned, most of the steps are taken care of by medical students. So you're right out of college, maybe you took a gap year, but you're just in a medical school. Remember, you're not a doctor yet, and you are taking vitals. Just a quick plug, we had a great talk about vitals and clinical skills last month. Go check that one out too. But you're taking vitals, you're seeing the patient, you're going through your history. Remember, we talked about old carts last time. Those are all the questions you can start asking. Then along, you and the other medical student will talk, you come up with a plan, you come up with what we call a differential diagnosis. A differential diagnosis is your list of possible diagnoses from the most likely to the least likely. We call those least likelies zebras because they're rare, as opposed to horses are more common. Or you can go from the most critical to the least critical. So for example, if you think a patient might be having a heart attack, you think maybe they're like a 20% chance they're having a heart attack. 20% isn't likely, but it's really critical. So we need to rule that out. So you and the other medical student are making up your differential. You're coming up with your history and plan. You present to your attending physician. Presentations are a really important part of medical school where you are showing what you know. You're trying to articulate everything you saw, heard, noticed from the patient in a succinct manner to that attending physician who's looking at their watch and saying, come on, hurry up. I got to know what I need to know, and let's go see them. The physician works with you to make up your plan, and then you go see the patient together. Different clinics have a ton of different spins and variations on this. You might join with a nutritional team, you might have a pharmacy team, social work. There's a ton of team members that you can invite to be part of that. But what I just outlined are the general steps for a student-run free clinic. So as a society, our mission is to organize all of the student-run free clinics across the country and beyond. We've had representation at hundreds of free clinics, pretty much every state in the country, and even some international participants. We want to serve as a body for people to share literature, to share ideas, so that you don't have these isolated pockets of research and knowledge. It makes no sense to be publishing research if you're not actually going to learn from it. So that instead of having to learn from experience like anyone can do, you learn from someone else's experience. That's the actual step of someone who's really thinking ahead. Is not learning from your own failures, but learning from someone else's failures, so you don't have to make those. Our vision eventually is to have multiple conferences at different regions. We want to be able to provide resources, grants, support for everyone from physicians that are volunteering their time to residents who are so busy and still coming to help, medical students who are really running the show, and everyone else, undergraduates, high schoolers, all based on our values of community care, taking care of folks who may not be able to afford regular clinic visits or hospital visits, as well as student education. A big part of this is learning. So as much as we're doing it to help people, we're also doing it to help students so that they can become better doctors in the future, as well as high schoolers and undergraduates so that they can get to those steps of becoming a doctor. So the next few slides, I'm just going to go through various initiatives we take and various projects we've undertaken. So these are just two flyers from our conferences in the last 2 years, but we've been having conferences for over a decade. Last year, we were in Philadelphia. In October, we had a great time. It was our biggest conference ever. We had hundreds of submissions, hundreds of poster presentations, and oral presentations. So a poster presentation is kind of like what y'all are at Mad Science Fair. You have a big board. Usually it's not a trifold, but just a flat poster. outlining some information. People walk around, they ask you questions. Versus an oral presentation, you're actually standing up at a podium, going through a PowerPoint or a lecture, and there's a lot more eyes on you. It's a little bit more serious, but both are great ways to get involved. And we had a ton of people also just going and asking questions. We had sponsors such as Narcan, which is really important medicine, as well as some new AI companies that were bringing in products for scribing, for taking patient information. So we had a ton of people involved at all levels. And then our conference this year is coming up in October. It's going to be October 4th through 5th in Chicago, which we're really excited for. We haven't done it in Chicago in a long time. So we're still doing abstract submissions for that right now. Our abstract submissions are open until May 31st. So we're reading, grading a ton of different abstracts that are coming in. For anyone that might not be familiar, an abstract is a succinct summary of your research. So it's a summary of your research. They call it an abstract. It's usually at the very beginning of a research paper. Other things we've done, like I mentioned, we've had a ton of webinars, different speakers, whether it's members of our operating committee or members of the faculty association, anything from research proposal writing to securing funds, getting faculty involved, how to actually create research or create a publication. So you can go on our website and all those webinars are available for free. Some of them may be a little bit ahead of y'all's current level, but if one catches your eye, I encourage you to check it out. You can get in touch with whoever gave that webinar and learn more. We also do shout outs for clinics all across the country, and even one in Puerto Rico, just outside the continental US, that we had a chance to shout out, and they came to our conference, got to work with them, which is such a blessing. Otherwise it's unlikely I would have gotten to meet those students, and we had so much to share, so much in common, as well as so many differences that we could really enjoy and learn about from one another. So this is some of our initiatives. We've also had grants. So we will offer money for schools that have good project ideas. This one was from 2024. We were doing interclinic grant, meaning the stipulation was that you had to have a project where you were working with another clinic. So for example, the University of Nebraska worked with a clinic in Ohio, or Indiana worked with a college near West. I can't remember where Marion is located, but it's outside of Indiana. So the whole idea was that we were fomenting this interstate collaboration, which is so cool. And they would have never met each other without the conference. We also, like I said, really work closely with the Journal of Student-Run Clinics that publish research about what we're doing all the time. I encourage you guys to check out that journal as well. Finally, we spotlight specific projects if they're really outstanding in our eyes. So this one was one from Milwaukee, looking at opioid overdose risk and response readiness. The other one was looking at metabolic illnesses. That's kind of how our bodies process and use energy. And this one was over in California. So if any of you guys are in the Bay Area, I don't know if Irvine and Altamed is near any of y'all, but that's a program that really values student-run clinics and something you may consider looking into. So now you guys are all thinking, how can I get involved? What can I do? And just like anything, it's really hard to get involved in the medical space because there's a lot of sensitive information, from the patients to the procedures we do. But if you're creative about it and persistent and can find the right people, there's probably a role that you guys can play as well. And I imagine that might be anything from helping to take vitals, to shadowing, to helping with secretary work, calling patients. That's really important to actually make the clinic run. So on our website, I encourage y'all, we have a map that shows all the free clinics that we know of. And you can try to find in your area free clinics near you and just find the contact. Maybe have your parents drive you over there and just knock on the door, say, hey, I'm really passionate about medicine. Is there any way I can help? Whether it's just calling patients ahead of time, scheduling follow-ups, can I help take blood pressure? Can I just watch? These student-run clinics are absolutely based in education. We want to have as much education as possible. I can't guarantee that all of them have the capacity to take high schoolers, but I can guarantee that they will at least think about the idea and see if it fits for their schedule, because we really do want to be educating as well as helping folks at every step of the way. Like I said, we have this awesome map where you can see clinics all over the country. And even if you don't see one in your area, you can see there's some gaps on our map. You can just look up whatever city, town you're in, student-run free clinic, And if there's no student-run clinics, I bet that there's a free clinic in your area. And those are also great opportunities. So like I said, 11 countries, 42 states, 214 clinics. And there's probably many more that we haven't documented yet. So that's really all I have. I know last time we had a ton of questions, so I actually wanted to make this one a bit shorter and have more time to hear from y'all. This is my student-run free clinic email. You guys are more than welcome to shoot me a message there if you have any questions, if you want to know more about how to get involved or any links that you couldn't find that I've mentioned today. And whether it's about the clinics, about medical school, about shadowing, anything, I'm an open book and I'm happy to help. So I think at this time, unless there were any slides y'all wanted me to go back to, I'm going to stop sharing and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Hi, what was the opportunity you were talking about? Like that's near Irvine, California?
So it's not necessarily an opportunity. What I mentioned was that we had a research project that I highlighted on our website based out of Irvine. So what that tells me is that that's a program that has a student-run free clinic associated with them, and they're clearly interested in research and education, and may be a good one to try to check out. So I can share this presentation with y'all, but it's the Irvine Family Medicine Residency.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And I can see Maya's putting all the links in the chat, so check those out. You can always just check out our Instagram where we have a link tree, and you can find all the important links there. And again, at the end of the day, if you can't find it on our website, truly just, Dallas, Texas, student-run free clinics, Irvine, California, student-run free clinics. And if you don't find anything there, narrow or broaden it to just free clinics. Sometimes that can be a way to find good opportunities near you too. What other questions can I answer, y'all?
Why do you think it's really important for you to shadow like a medical person? How can that give you an insight of the future? Why would you recommend it for like a high school student?
Okay. Thanks for your question, Katya. And I think at the end there, you confirmed you're asking why is it important as a high school student to shadow?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say even outside of medicine, I'd say it's important as a high schooler to shadow any field you might have a slight interest in. And frankly, even fields that you're not interested in, just to get an idea for what's out there in the world. You never know. With medicine in particular, it's such a unique place to shadow because you are really stepping through a window into someone else's world, right? If you go and shadow a carpenter, that's awesome. It's probably very interesting. You get to see how a house is being built or how all these structures work. And maybe you get some insight into how this customer wants to live, what they want to have in their house. But when you step into a clinic or a hospital and you're standing behind the doctor shadowing, I mean, you're getting to hear some really significant, serious stories from these patients, and you see the trust that is placed in the healthcare field to take care of those people, to say, I hear you, I'm with you, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make you feel better. And, you have to see, I think, early on if that's something that you're comfortable with. And it's going to change as you get older too. But if you want to start feeling it out, am I kind of interested in this world? I think that at any level possible, you should start shadowing. On the more practical side, I think that it certainly wouldn't hurt for your college applications. If you have one of your essay stories talking about how you took an interest in medicine, engineering, and aviation. So you decided, I'm going to go and see what that looks like. So I wouldn't shout at a doctor. I wouldn't shout at a pilot, which I guess you kind of do every time you fly. But I went and shadowed all these fields I'm interested in so I could learn more about myself. That shows a degree of maturity that many other college applicants won't have. And then when you're actually getting to the step of medical school, it's almost a requirement that you have some shadowing and clinical hours because they want to know that this person is not just, pretending they want to be a medical student. They're going and taking their time, their weekends, their Friday nights, their Saturday nights, and they're in the hospital, they're in the clinic, wanting to be part of this world. So that's why it's important to shadow. There's both the very emotional aspect of it and the very practical aspect of it.
Thank you.
I see Fatina asked a question about getting shadowing opportunities as high school students. So I think that it's always best to start locally and to start with people you know. And what I mean by that is um, people you know, whether it's family, friends, or your own friends. I would, whenever you have a break coming up, you guys have summer coming up right now, just take a day. You can make a generic copy paste message. Hey, my name's Maya, and I'm getting ready for summer. I'm thinking to get some shadowing. Does anyone in your family know a physician, or do you have any family friends that know a physician? And just send it to like, 50 of your friends. Ask your parents to send it to 10 of their family friends. And I bet to some degree, someone's going to be connected to a doctor. That way, it's really hard to say no to someone you personally know versus if you just cold email, you might get some responses, but it's much easier to say no to someone who you never met. So I think that's always the best way to start. I detail a few other ways to get involved in my last video, so I encourage you to check that one out on Teen Health Journal's YouTube page. But just to summarize, if you have no one in the family or no family friends, I would try to look up some community and private clinics, as including student-run free clinics and generally free clinics. And I encourage you to figure out things that you already like and try to couple them with a need in the community. So, for example, if you like playing piano, reach out to your local nursing home and say, hey, I would love to bring my keyboard and just set up and play for an hour. And I bet that they would love that. And it shows so much initiative from your end. I know it's not shadowing, but that could open up a lot of doors. Just taking that initiative. Find something you like and just, if you're going to do it anyway, go and do it for the community. Do it for people that are really going to appreciate it. So I hope that answered your question. And if not, you can email me or check out the video that I'm referencing. I see a couple more questions. Adi asks, if I were going to contact some of these student-run clinics in my area, how would I go about to ask for a volunteer opportunity just to scribe or take blood pressure? So Adi, great question. I would say don't even start with the specific request as much as, hey, my name's Adi. I'm a high schooler in the area. Really interested in medicine and recently learned about these student-run free clinics. If there's any way for me just to come by and observe or just even have coffee with someone outside of the clinic to learn more, it would mean a lot to me. And that way, maybe you meet with one of the student managers or they connect you with one of the faculty. Then maybe at the end of that meeting, you say, if it's possible, if it's okay with y'all's rules and patience, could I come by and observe or help you guys with vitals or learn how to take vitals? So try to make that first step of, I would love to learn more. I know y'all are busy, but I would appreciate 30 minutes of your time for some coffee. I don't know if you guys drink coffee yet or not, but everyone in medicine does. So you can always offer coffee. Hema asks, what is the best way to get lab research opportunities? So lab research opportunities are actually arguably easier for y'all's level than some of the clinical opportunities because there's a ton of grants that are supporting high schoolers in STEM. I would say look into your local colleges. So for example, I'm here in Dallas. We have a college called UTD, University of Texas at Dallas, and they do a ton of summer programs for high schoolers. You apply sometime in the middle of the year, and if you're accepted, you spend the summer working in some research lab. Even at UT Southwestern, we have a program called STARS, which allows high schoolers to spend months working in a lab. I used to work in a lab my first year of medical school, and we had a really, really smart high schooler. She was a junior going into senior year, and she got to present both to our lab as well as at a small conference nearby. And she really put the work in. She was coming in very early in the mornings, trying her best to read these papers and keep up with the literature. So check out the local colleges near you. That would be my first suggestion. And then if you're having trouble with that, you might just try, I don't know if you travel anywhere for the summer or if you can find one that offers like a camp for a week. That might be a way to find places outside your area. But I'd really start with local colleges near you.
I'm gonna ask a quick question. This is more on like the student like run free clinic side. And I'm doing a project right now in school about like US healthcare and like all like the pros and cons. And one of them was about how like in the US, like obviously it's not like universal healthcare. It's more like I guess private funded. People have to pay for their own individual healthcare. And like as like a student run free clinic, like have you ever had to face times where like there was just like too many patients, or like you couldn't like handle everyone, or like maybe like a problem with having free healthcare is that there was like too many people overusing it to the point where you couldn't like, I guess, help people who actually like needed it and things like that?
Really forward thinking and good question, Maya. So you're right. We have a mixed system in the US, meaning you can choose to pay for private insurance, which is often allowing you to get access to a bit higher level care, a bit faster care, often kind of more expensive care, versus many people that will use government subsidized insurance, which would be your Medicaid and Medicare, along with some other programs involved in that. And at the student run free clinics, and generally at free clinics, the principle is that you are taking patients that either are uninsured or underinsured, meaning they may have insurance package that doesn't cover all of their needs. As a principle, at the free clinics that I work out, we don't even ask about insurance. Patient comes in, most of ours are scheduled, so we don't run into the problem of having too many people because we deliberately say, hey, we can only take the first 4 to 6 tonight because we only have 2.5 to 3 hours. We're doing it extra time, so we cap it personally. And at the end of the visit, we will ask for a donation very gently. We tell them, if you're able to, it helps keep the clinic running. But if you're unable to, it doesn't change anything about your care, anything about follow-ups. So that's one way that we keep the lights on a little bit. And then the way that we avoid being overburdened is we do have to set cutoffs. We have another clinic in Dallas that does walk-ins, and it's kind of the same, except at some point we have to stop. Around 9 o'clock, we stop taking new patients. And that one is based out of a homeless shelter. So if needed, we can go see those patients the next day. But yes, I think that your research project is going to be quite interesting. I encourage all of y'all to start thinking about and reading up on how insurance works. It's very hard and complicated, but it's good to start thinking ahead now. And these clinics are really ways that we bring medicine back to the people and allows the physician to just be a person again. Physicians didn't sign up to, work through prior authorizations and insurance and all this paperwork. We signed up so we could just help people. And free clinics are an awesome way where you get to do that in a safe space while teaching students. So yeah, Maya, there's a lot of challenges for us. We just have to set caps. And we don't take insurance. We just ask for a donation. And if they're able to, great. If they're not, no problem. It doesn't change anything about the care that we offer them. Ananya, I see you asked a question. How would I cold email to receive opportunities with my professors from local colleges? Do you have any recommendations on what to include in an email? So, this may be alluding to what I said earlier about research at local colleges. Oftentimes there is an application. So usually there's a formal application for high school students doing research. And that's supposed to help avoid overburdening professors with too many random emails. So first, try to see if there is a program specifically for high schoolers, because that's also going to allow you to onboard correctly and get the right training that you need. So you're not just kind of thrown into the fire. So first, look to see if there's formal programs for cold email. If there's nothing available in your area, no colleges, no universities near you that offer programs from high schoolers, it's going to be really tough to cold email a professor. A lot of them are very busy. They're already getting emails from undergraduates, from graduate students. But your best bet is going to be to bring something to the table. And what I mean by that is, instead of just saying, hi, my name is Ananya, I need to get some research experience, can I come to your lab? Try to look up that professor in their lab and find some of their papers. Give it a quick read. Some of them might be a bit tougher, but do your best to make questions. Go through their paper and say, hey, Dr. Adam, I read your paper, and gosh, I am just starting to kind of get the idea of how Alzheimer's works and all these different theories. And, you use this one technique to try to investigate it. Can you tell me a bit more? I tried looking it up, but it seems like it's a new technique. People want to be flattered a little bit. It means a lot when a professor says, oh, this young person had the curiosity to go and read my research and they're asking me questions. So bring something to the table. Don't just say, hey, I need some experience. Can I come? Tell them, what you can bring. give them send them your CV or your resume, which I know you guys might just now be building up, but this is a good practice opportunity. So again, start with formal applications, but if not, you can try to find a few that you can email and just bring something to the table. Include your CV, include your resume if you have them. If not, start working on that. Maybe that's a workshop we can do another time. But also ask questions. Show them that you're engaged and you're actually curious and not just doing it for the checkbox. So I hope that helps, Ananya.
Yes, it does. Thank you.